Well, hey folks, and welcome to Solar Cabin Channel. It's a beautiful spring day here at the cabin, and it's a day when I need to get a few things done around here. I need to refill my water, so I thought I would show you how I do that and how my cabin here is set up like a self-contained RV. And I got the idea for that from living for 2 years in a camper when I first moved to my off-grid property here. All I could afford, I had an old 11-foot camper that I bought for $700, and I had an old truck. And I just parked that on my property here, and I lived in that for 2 years while I was working a part-time job to save money to build my cabin. And living in that, I learned a lot about self-contained systems, and I really liked that system. Plus, I was able to transfer a lot of the appliances, the sink, and wiring, cabinets, all that sort of stuff to my cabin after I got built. So I didn't have to pay a lot of money for things that that I could get. I salvaged them and recycled them from my camper. So today I'm going to refill my water tank. My water tank is a 35-gallon RV water tank out of that old camper that sits underneath my sink, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Now, this property originally belonged to my grandfather. He was an original homesteader in this area. He had 200 acres of property here, and when he had a lot of kids, and he split off the property to his kids, and then my dad split it off to us kids, and and that's how it got spread around. And so I ended up with about 3/4 of an acre of property here, and that's what I'm living on here. And most of the properties here have water wells on them. And we live up next to the close at the foothills of the mountains where you get a lot of snow, and we're talking a lot of snow up there. And then that runs underneath into underground aquifers, and then they drilled water here. Well, some of the wells, like the one that I am half owner of with my brother, is a 300-foot deep water well that is what they call an artesian or free-flowing well. So let me take you back there and show you how my water is set up and how I use it here at the cabin. Okay, so this is my water line that runs here to my cabin. And this water line actually runs up about 500 feet up to a water well that's 300 foot deep. And I'm half owner with my brother of that water well. And that way he can use it on his property when he comes up and visits, because he doesn't live there full time. I live here full time, so I have a water line that runs to my place full time. As you can see, I've got good flow. That's after running 500 feet. And this is called an artesian well or a free-flowing well. Because it actually doesn't require a pump. The pressure from the mountains, which you can kind of see in the background there, the pressure as it flows downhill and fills those aquifers is enough pressure to force it up through the well. The pressure from the mountains as it pushes it down through gravity into those aquifers fills up the aquifers and also forces it up through the wells, and that's why it's called a free-flowing. So I don't need a pump on my well in order for this to flow like this. Now, this flows into a stock tank, and this is just one of those steel stock tanks I got, and I actually bartered for this for doing pest control. And this is in my backyard here. As you can see, my dogs are in here. This is in my backyard, so this is always filled up, so the dogs always have water. And then the way this is set up, it also overflows because it's running all the time. Then the water overflows out of this tank. It runs down a ditch I've got there. And then just on the other side here of this fence is where my small orchard is. And I've got apple trees and other plants and trees and a big yard of grass out there. So this just naturally keeps everything watered. I don't really have to do any irrigation at my place. It's all natural and just runs all the time. And this runs, and it never freezes in wintertime. Because the water is flowing all the time, flowing water won't freeze. Doesn't matter how cold it gets as long as it stays running. So this tank never freezes up in winter. Now I also use this to refill the 35-gallon tank in my cabin. And I just use a hose, just a standard garden hose, and I hook it up to this water pipe right here. And then I hook it into the up to the inspout on my cabin, just like you do an RV. And it's real simple to do, and I usually refill my 35-gallon water tank about once a week. Okay, so that's hooked up. Let's go fill up the cabin tank. Okay, so I just got my water hose hooked up to that well pipe there. You can see I got good flow. It's not, super strong flow, but it's plenty enough for filling up a water tank, watering my garden, and doing whatever chores, watering my planters and things like that I do around the house. I also used it for when I raise chickens, of course, watering animals and things like that. So my cabin just has an inlet pipe, just like an RV, and this goes into my 35-gallon tank that is underneath my sink. Now the only thing I have to be careful of is I do have to kind of keep an eye on the water, otherwise it will flow down and could flow underneath the cabin. I actually had that happen one time, and I learned my lesson to always keep an eye on this, so I know about how much time it takes to refill the tank. So I just stick this into the hose, into the end of the refill hose here, like so, and then that will refill up. Usually takes about 15-20 minutes, depending on how empty the tank is inside, to refill up about 35 gallons. So not long at all. And while I'm doing that, I usually do some outside chores. So we'll come back here in a minute. As soon as this starts flowing out of this pipe right here, I know it's full, and I can take it out. Okay guys, so I got that water tank filled up, and before I go on, I want to tell you it is the maid's day off. So don't look too closely, you probably see something you don't like. And just so you know, I've lived in this cabin, now for over 15 years, full time. This is not a recreation or vacation cabin that I just visit on the weekends to make YouTube videos. I actually live here full time, 24/7. So my system, it consists of the sink, which the sink was salvaged out of that same old camper. So it is a 2-basin sink, but it is a smaller version. It is the RV style sinks, which are a little bit smaller. The cabinet top I actually got at a yard sale, and I built these base cabinets, which I'll show you here in a minute. I built and customized these base cabinets just out of 2x4s and plywood for the specific purpose of holding a 35-gallon water tank. Now this sink does have cold and hot water on it, and it is run from a 12-volt SureFlow pump. Now I can't show you the pump because the pump's buried underneath the sink down there. The SureFlow pump also was salvaged out of the camper. So it is a 12-volt pump that runs directly off of my solar power system, which is a 400-watt solar power system. It runs directly off the batteries. But in order to do that, you need to have a switch, just like they have in an RV. Otherwise, that SureFlow pump will try to keep cycling, and because it can't keep the pressure in the pipes, it will just keep cycling continually. So when I'm running this, I use this just like an RV sink. I turn the switch on, I run water, I turn the switch off. Otherwise, it would run my batteries down, and it would just keep cycling that pump. So I'm going to go in my bathroom, I'm going to turn my pump on, you'll be able to hear it, and then you'll also see water coming out of my sink. Okay, now if you listen, you can hear that water pump running. It's back there in the corner. It's plumbed into my shower in my bathroom and my sink in there, and also into my kitchen sink here. And sometimes when you click it on, and sometimes when you kick on a RV sink, you might get a little bit of poof of pressure. That's because the pipes are sitting empty until you turn the pump on. So here I turn on the pump. Here you can see I got good water flow. Okay, good water flow. And I'm not going to keep it running. I'm not going to keep it running and waste my water in my tank. So now I'll show you the tank underneath the sink. Okay, so under my cabinets, like I said, this is just a 2x4 and plywood cabinet that I made myself. This is a 35-gallon water tank. It's the RV water tank that was in that camper. Okay, and so I plumbed that in. This holds 35 gallons. It's completely full now. That will generally last me about a week for washing dishes, running water for my coffee, and taking a few showers every week, okay? With 2 people, of course, you'd have to refill it more often, but I just live here by myself, so I only need to refill it that often. The 12-volt SureFlow pump is back there in the corner. I can't exactly show you that. But I do live a little bit differently than a lot of people. I don't wash dishes right in my sink and then run the water out. It's a waste of water, plus it would overflow. I use a French drain for all of my plumbing for the sinks and showers, which is basically a pit full of gravel, okay? And it just runs in there and then seeps out through that into the ground. That would overflow my French drain and cause problems down the road. So instead of what I do is I use wash tubs. These simple wash tubs here, I fill, when I get enough dishes, then I just fill these up. Then I fill these up with water, wash my dishes in those, rinse them all off really good, and then I throw this water outside into my ditch, okay? No need to fill my French drain up with that, and it's perfectly fine to do that. And this system, like I said, has been in place now for 15 years. So 15 years, and I've had absolutely zero problems with the tank or the pump. And that RV SureFlow pump was in that camper for a long time. I know it was probably at least 10 years old when I got it. So it's 25 years old and still works fine. I've never had to do anything. They're really great pumps. And you can get these tanks You can get these 35-gallon tanks in an RV supply store, but you can also get them on Amazon, probably a lot cheaper, and they work really well. So now I'll show you also my shower, how this works, and I'll show you my on-demand water heater. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to see this. One of the reasons I don't do videos inside my cabin is the lighting is not all that good because it's a small cabin. All right, so this is my bathroom. My bathroom is 7 foot by 7 foot, built inside the cabin. It is not completely finished. I never did completely finish it and probably never will, but it functions very well for me. Now, this is my shower, and you can't see the shower stall down here, but I actually got this shower stall for free. My brother was also remodeling his house. He bought a corner shower stall thinking he was going to use it, then decided he didn't want it and he wanted something bigger. So he gave me the shower stall. So the shower base didn't cost me anything. I built the shower stall out of 2x2 and then just lined it with shower curtain material, and I put up some waterproof bathboard on the back walls. Made my own shower stall, and it only cost maybe $10-15 to do it. Now, this shower runs off an on-demand water heater, which I'll show you here, and that water pump. So I have to turn the shower on, turn the water pump on in order to run the shower. So I'm going to turn that on and just show you here. My switch is right here on the wall. Convenient because when I'm in the bathroom, I can just reach out from the shower and flip the shower switch off. So that's why I have it here. To flip the shower switch off, then I have to divert the water from the sinks to the shower. So I'm just going to turn this little valve right here. And there you can hear my water running. And you can see I've got really good pressure, okay? This is really good shower pressure. Now, this will also, I'll show you that this is heating up right away because I have an on-demand water heater here, which I'll show you here right in a minute. Now, I'm not going to waste my water again, so I'm going to turn my water off. And then I turn my shower switch off. So that's how I take a shower. It has really good pressure. I get a good shower. And I'll show you now this on-demand water heater, which I highly recommend. Okay, so this is my EcoTemp L5 water heater. This is an on-demand propane water heater, and I love this thing. I can highly recommend them. I've had this one in the cabin since I built the cabin, so it's been running for 15 years. 15 years every day, and I've had absolutely zero problems with it, no complaints. It does have a electric or a battery ignition on it, and as soon as it senses water going into the system, it kicks on. So I'll show you that just real quickly here. I turn on my water pump here, then as soon as it senses water, you'll see it kick on. Hear it? And you can see the flame up here. It shows you it's on, and it heats up this water really fast. Now, one of the reasons that I have my water tank inside the cabin underneath my sink there is to preheat, is to bring the temperature of that water in that tank to room temperature. So it goes to whatever room temperature it is, and that way the on-demand water heater doesn't have to work near as hard, okay? It only has to heat it up from room temperature to hot. And so this small water heater will do that really quick. So I can turn on, I'm getting undressed, I can turn on my shower, and by the time I'm undressed, I'm ready to get in the shower. It's already hot. If you have a water tank outside, then you're going to have to raise the temperature up from whatever your outside temperature is, which could be a real problem as the weather gets cold here. Plus, by having my water tank underneath my sink, I don't ever have to worry about my water freezing up, okay? Even if it was a recreation cabin, as long as the temperature inside your cabin stays above freezing, then the water in that tank is not going to freeze, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, if you're all right, folks, so that is my off-grid water system. And like I said, I've had that here in the cabin. Most of my parts are recycled except for the old on-demand water heater, which I bought when the company first started out. I was one of the first ones to buy one and review them on my channel, and I've been recommending them for off-gridders ever since. Everything else pretty much has been salvaged, recycled out of my camper for my system. Works excellent. I've had zero problems with it. I haven't had to replace a pump. The RV tank works great, and it works excellent for an off-grid cabin because it is like a self-contained RV. It makes it very convenient to just, if you're living in a camper like I was, to just salvage those components out of your camper, put them into your cabin. All right, I hope this was informative and maybe you got something out of it. This would work for either a recreation cabin or full-time off-grid living here at the cabin with my 2 dogs. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day, and if you haven't subscribed, I got over 350 videos of all types of projects and things that I've worked on over the years. I'm happy to share with you. If you subscribe, you'll also know when I produce new videos so that you can follow those. And I hope if you do like the video, you'll give it a thumbs up. Thank you, folks, and have a great day.